beautiful people. So today we're reading chapters 30, 31, and 32. And the questions that linger in my mind are, will Pixie ever come back? How are they going to get to the motor? And then what sort of adventures will Styx take the boys on, the brothers on? So here we go, chapter 30, Secrets. Come morning, I was still reflecting on what Styx had said and how he'd said it. Today was the big day, Motor Day. The adventure awaiting us was unclear, but we knew it would be one. Little thoughts cropped up in my mind. Why, when the plan was so clear in Styx's mind, did it have to be so secret? All along I'd liked the mystery. I liked taking each crazy dive into the world of Styx Malone. Why was my stomach doing somersaults now? Bobby Jean and I muddled our way through breakfast, trying to tamp down our excitement. Soon enough, we would know. Sitting across the table from everyone felt the same as usual, but different. We had a secret from Mom and Dad right now, and yet it didn't feel wrong. Styx made it sound like breaking the rules wasn't really so bad as long as you didn't get caught. That made a kind of sense. I hung around afterward for a few minutes while Dad was reading the paper at the table. He hadn't gotten to the sports section yet. Hey, Dad? Yeah? How can you tell what someone's thinking? I gripped the edge of the table and tugged till my fingertips paled. I had many more questions, things I didn't know how to put in words. Did you try asking them? What are you thinking? Dad turned a page in the newspaper and glanced at me. I'm thinking this paper is full of bad news. I'm thinking of flipping to the funnies for a change. Is that it? I suppose not, he said. I'm thinking about work, thinking about you now. What's this about? I didn't know how to explain to Dad about Styx. At least, not in a way that wouldn't end with Dad forbidding us to hang out with him. Never mind, I told Dad. I was just wondering. Well, okay then. Dad pulled out the comics. Here we go. That's better. He smiled at me. For all the news he watched, it was funny how easily Dad could let the whole wide world slip away. 4 solid walls, a big screen TV, and food on the table. Me and Bobby Jean doing all right in school. That was perfect to him. That was enough. He was never going to tell me what I wanted to know. The questions in my heart were not ordinary. Thanks, Dad. I slid toward the hallway. Caleb? I turned back. Yeah? Sometimes you don't ever find out what someone else is thinking. Bobby Jean sat on the edge of his bed, pulling on his socks. You okay? He said, glancing at me. Yeah. I took some socks and sat next to him. He stuck his stocky legs straight out in front of him and tapped his toes together. I had to laugh. Bobby Jean and I tell each other almost everything, and we know things we don't tell each other, too. When he wakes up after an embarrassing dream, I know about it. I see him all hunched over, shuffling off to the bathroom. We always know who farted by the smell of it alone. When I try to sneak more than my share of something, he can guess by the look on my face. We buy each other's Christmas and birthday presents at the last possible minute so we don't accidentally give the surprise away. Bobby Jean always seems to know when something's wrong with me. We know how to give each other space when we're out of sorts. Even when he's leaving me alone, we're always sort of together. I can't imagine what it would be like not to have someone knowing all your business, to have real secrets. Styx Malone had secrets. Chapter 31. The Best Prepared Hobos in the Midwest. What's that? Styx pointed to the brown paper sack in my hand. It had peanut butter sandwiches, baby oranges, packets of cheese crackers, and honey roasted peanuts. You said we'd be gone all day, I said. We might get hungry. Besides, we had to tell Mom we were going for a picnic lunch after chores. It would have looked odd if we hadn't taken any food. Why? Bobby Jean asked. Didn't you fill that up too? He pointed to the lunch sack in Styx's hand. Styx frowned, but only said, Good thinking. He pulled a large checkered bandana from his back pocket. I figured we'd forage for snacks. but this will do. He took the sack from me, placed it in the middle of the cloth square, and knotted the corners up in a bundle. Now we need a good stick, he said. We found one at the edge of the woods, about 2 feet long, 1 inch thick, and still green enough to be slightly springy. Styx shoved one end of the stick through the bandana knot, then hiked the pack up over his shoulder, like a real old-timey hobo. What are we gonna do, hop a train and ride off into the sunset? I joked. I hear the whistle blowing, Styx answered. He handed me the stick and bundle to carry. Styx led us to the train yard, a part of town we didn't know. There wasn't anything you'd call a train station, just a massive interchange of tracks. Sutton, the crossroads to nowhere. We weaved among rows of boxcars, gray, brown, red, orange, and green. Some had words on the sides. Others had letters or numbers. Some were rusty and ancient. Some were shiny and new. Only a few doors stood open. It was strangely easy. There were no guards. A few workers in neon vests ambled around the area. None of them seemed to notice us. This is the one we want, Styx said. The 1025 always leaves from this track. Oh my. These are all freight, Bobby Jean commented. No passenger trains stop in Sutton. Mom said we had ridden on the train once, going up to Chicago for Aunt Cecilia's wedding, way back before Susie was born. Before Dad drew a circle around Sutton in his mind. An electric fence, more like. Nah, said Styx. This is way better. A whistle blew. All aboard, Styx said. We climbed into an open green boxcar and settled cross-legged on the dusty floor. Whatever cargo had been in here had left sawdust all over everything. The whistle blew. The metal rocked and chugged beneath us as the train began to move. My pulse pounded like drums against every inch of my skin. Adventure through and through. The train pulled past the train yard onto a solo track across the farmland. The air stirred and sawdust whirled in tiny tornadoes beneath our knees. How far are we going? Bobby Jean asked. How far do you want? Was Styx's answer. Would we feel a jolt at the moment we crossed the town line out of Sutton? You could break right through an electric fence if you were strong enough to handle the current for a second. I held my breath. As the train sped up, Styx moved to the doorway. He gripped the handbar and leaned out. Styx Malone, you crazy fool! Bobby Jean shouted. Get back in here! Styx pulled himself back inside, grinning. Nah, man, you gotta try it! The train chugged past the backs of buildings and then out into the corn. Wind whipped past the door as the train picked up speed. We held on to the floorboards to keep from bouncing around. How do we get back? Bobby Jean asked. Back, Styx said. Why would you want to go back? Bobby Jean's cheeks slackened. I'm kidding, Styx said. Relax, homeboy. He leaned out the door again, barely gripping the handbar with his fingertips, all his weight dangling by those thin wrists. He threw his head back. Woo! Y'all don't know what you're missing, he shouted. He let go of one arm and stretched it into the whipping air. Bobby Jean sucked in a sharp breath. To fall would be disastrous, but Styx would never fall. Come on! I scrambled to my feet. Don't you want to try it? The white of the sky and the chug of the train, the speed and the rocking and the grease scent tipped me toward giddy. I was close enough to touch Styx's magic. Bobby Jean bit his lip, trying to look braver. We had been inseparable all our lives, but I was starting to see the difference between us. The way Styx challenged the world. The way Styx challenged the world to a fight. It pulled me forward, leaving Bobby Jean behind. It's okay, I told him. We're just having fun. I cuffed him on the shoulder where he sat with his arms crossed around his knees, watching the landscape. I went to the other side of the door, grabbed the handbar tight, and tossed my body into the wind the way Styx had. It hurt a little. My arms bore the whole weight of me as the metal lurched beneath me, and I had to stretch through my toes to balance. The summer wind turned sharp and icy against my cheeks. I closed my eyes against the blur of clouds and treetops. My shirt billowed and pulled like a sail. I drifted, free from all thoughts, beyond don't let go. The air wanted me. The ground wanted me. The circling gears below hungered to crunch my bones. My muscles strained to keep me in place. Part boy, part machine, part nature. It hurt more than a little. I whooped the way Styx had. Thick wind filled my mouth and throat, flapping my cheeks and drying my tongue. Infinity, here we come! Chapter 32, Dead Man's Curve. That sounds ominous. Okay, get ready, Styx said, brushing cheese cracker crumbs from his fingers. We'd been on the train for over an hour. The worry lines on Bobby Jean's forehead were looking more and more like Granddad Franklin's. Ready? Styx said. For what? Bobby Jean asked. For anything, I thought. This is our stop. Styx tossed the last cracker wrapper back onto our paper sack. We rolled it up into the bandana. Bobby Jean inched toward the open cargo door. He poked his head out past the edge, just enough to look around with one eye. This doesn't look like a stop. It's not, but it's where we get off. Bobby Jean moved back, placing himself between Styx and me. Is it actually going to stop, though? Trust me, Styx said. It'll slow down enough. Sure enough, the train began to slow. They call it Dead Man's Curve, Styx said. That's all kinds of comforting, Bobby Jean muttered. Ready? The train slowed to a crawl. Styx sat on the edge of the floor, his legs dangling out the door. Then he heaved himself out of the train. His feet skidded across the stones, banking the tracks. He rolled into the grass, a soft landing. Awesome, I said, leaping after him. My body hung in the grip of the wind for a long second before my feet touched down. Momentum carried me forward until I tumbled into the grass. Bobby Jean inched towards the edge, his frown fully set. Styx and I got up and chased after the boxcar. Come on, BG, Styx said. You can do it, it's easy. My heart was still soaring somewhere between earth and sky. We trotted alongside the train. It was going slow enough that we could do that, but it would round the corner soon, and planning to ride off into the sunset, BG, Styx said. If you go to the end of the line, we'll be seeing you sometime tomorrow. Bobby Jean scrambled to the boxcar's edge. Don't leave me! Don't leave me! Jump, I said. It'll be okay. Bobby Jean looked really scared. Maybe Styx and I should have left him at home for this one. With a desperate cry, he finally did it. He rolled down the gravel bank and came to rest in the grass. Styx reached down and took his hand. Bobby Jean brushed himself off. Looking good, BG, Styx beamed. He raised his hand for a high five. Bobby Jean slapped it. Then he cut me an evil side eye. I swallowed the nagging feeling that maybe I wasn't being the best brother. Then again, Bobby Jean knew, like I did, that following Styx meant anything was possible. We walked through the fields away from the tracks. We were smack in the middle of nowhere, USA. Nothing around for miles, apart from the occasional farmhouse in the distance. Much of the land was scrappy dirt, too uneven and rocky to farm. We drew close to a ramshackle house and garage on a scrubby plot of land. The low rail fence was much easier to climb than chain link. The lot inside it was peppered with junk. Someone did woodworking and metalwork here. The house needed a paint job, and the roof sagged. The large deck on the back looked weathered. The garage had 4 big doors, 2 open. We walked right in. Motors everywhere, parts and tools and half-constructed machines. Lawnmowers, snowblowers, the shell of an old Ford pickup. There was welding equipment and metal art. One wall of the garage was studded with every imaginable size of screwdriver and drill bit, wrench head, and plenty of things I didn't know the names of. This here, Styx led us to a shelf stocked with dozens of lawnmower motors. We're looking for a Briggs & Stratton model number 2307A. He showed us how to find the model number on each one. How'd you learn so much about motors anyway? I asked. I know a guy, Styx said. You know a lot of guys, Bobby Jean said. We combed through the motors. Styx started at the top shelf, I started at the bottom, and Bobby Jean in the middle. What if there isn't one? I asked. There will be, Styx sounded certain. He always keeps at least one of everything he might need. He's compulsive like that. Whose shop is this? Bobby Jean asked. Styx didn't answer right away. Let me guess, I said. A guy you know. Styx tapped his nose. You're picking up what I'm putting down. We combed through the motors. I looked out and my finger landed on the right one first. Found it! I double-checked the numbers. Then Styx and Bobby Jean came and quadruple checked it. Great, Styx said. Wrap it up. The motor was heavy. We wrapped it in the bandana and tied it to the stick again in the middle this time, not at the edge. Styx carefully placed the lunchbox in the spot where the motor had been to complete the trade. Okay, he said. We're all set. Bobby Jean carried one end of the stick, and I carried the other, and we made our way back into the yard. Boots thumped across the deck. Hey, a man's gruff voice called. What are you doing down there? Ooh, that's scary. And that's the end of our reading session today. I wonder what the next adventure will be and who the gruff man is. Okay. Have a good night, everyone.